guys, and welcome back to the Dreams I've Had of Deities series. I guess that's a series now. Okay, so this next dream is less of a singular dream and more of two consecutive dreams. First of all, I should explain the age in which I have this dream. I was a 13-year-old girl, and I believe I was still in middle school. And and there's one thing you should probably know about me, which makes these dreams, a lot more interesting to me. And that is, I don't have reoccurring dreams. For me, a reoccurring dream is just something that does not happen. If I can't go back to a dream sometimes when I wake up, but I can try, and sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. But to have a dream 3 years after I originally had a dream, that's weird to me, especially considering that in this particular dream, I dreamt that I was 16 years old. So I was a 13-year-old. I dreamt I was a 16-year-old in the dream, though, right? So let me explain what actually happened in the dream. I was walking around a giant building within a city covered in the sea, corals attached to brilliant white stone, and I kept walking until I found an entrance. Within this building, it sort of resembled a giant mall. And as I walked inside of it, it sort of looked like in the apocalypse what happens to malls where they're just covered in foliage. And as I'm walking around, I noticed that there's a small cottage. And for some reason, I just instinctually knew that that cottage belonged to Loki, and that I should probably avoid it as best I can. Besides, it seemed like no one was home. I kept walking, and then eventually I ended up in this area where it led to a giant castle, which makes no sense because outside should be the city again, the watered city, the beautiful crystal blue city. But it wasn't. Instead, there was a castle, and the second I walked outside the door, I was immediately kidnapped by vampires. And basically, the whole plot of the rest of the dream is that a vampire prince has a prophecy where he has to marry me, and I did not want to. And so I got shoved in a cupboard because I kept fighting back. And then I realized that because I was there, and because the whole point was to make me like a vampire bride, I now had the ability to be a vampire or to do vampire things for short periods of time. And so I turned into a bat, and I flew out the window, and then I hid in a mailbox, which I find very silly. And the vampires started looking for me, but they never thought to look in a mailbox for a little bat. And that's where the dream ended, because after a bit, I just flew away. Now, 3 years later, when I was actually 16, the dream sort of repeated itself. Now, there was two major differences. The first being, the one when I was a 13-year-old, I looked like what I thought I would look like at 16. Attractive, young, beautiful, stunning. But in reality, when the one I was 16, I just looked like myself, which isn't always common. I sometimes dream of alternate versions of myself, but they don't always look like me, so this felt like very purposeful. So once again, everything goes exactly the same, except when it comes to the part when I see the cottage. This time the cottage isn't far away. It's right in the middle of the path, and so I decide to stop inside, and I knock, and when I knock, the door just swings open, and there is a man sitting on a bed, and he looks very emotionally distraught. The man is rather large, I would say husky with a round tummy, but very muscular, and his hair is braided back in that classic Viking style, and he's got bright red hair. And he looks at me, and he introduces himself as Thor to me. And he mentions that he's been looking for his brother Loki, and that he's not here, so I might as well keep going. And I leave without questioning it too much. It just seemed kind of like a pointless detail in the dream. But then I realized something now that I'm older, and also after I woke up from the dream, was, first of all, I don't know about Thor, but I definitely know that Loki's real hair color, mythology-wise, is a redhead. And also, Thor's personality just did not match the Viking warrior. I think that was just Loki pretending to be Thor in the dream, which I think is funny. that he's like, oh no, I can't have anyone knowing I'm here, and being like a little schmooze. The only reason why I originally thought it was Thor in the dream is because there was a hammer. But now that I think about it, it just looked like a regular hammer, not like Mjolnir, which I think is cool. And the rest of the dream went exactly the same. Like, I shit you not. The same details, the same room, the same castle, the same architecture. It was creepy how in 3 years my brain had remembered the exact details of that castle and done it again. So yeah, this dream was a little bit more exciting than the Dionysus one, but he's in this one, technically he's a lot less important to the plot than the Dionysus one, which is kind of sad. Although I think it was still a fun dream, and I still think the rest of the details about it make it very interesting. I see that I have a lot more time on the video left, so let me think of another topic to talk about, or perhaps I'll just let the animation play with some music. I'll get back to you in about a few seconds. So, fun fact, after recording the dialogue for the Dionysus video, that night I had a dream that I was in a magical world where all of the gods that, you know, the Norse and all the other pantheons were basically just like had completely different personalities. They just shared the names and had nothing in common with them. And the whole premise was that, you know, it was just like a different world and they just shared the same names, but I ascended to godhood. It's just, the point is, all these dream stuff is all for fun. I don't really take any meaning from them outside of maybe the next one about the devil, and mostly because I think that's just based off of my brain torturing me, rather than actually being anything supernatural. I don't really take my dreams seriously. But thank you for watching the video anyway, if you got this far.